হ্যালো ভিউয়ার্স, ওয়েলকাম ব্যাক টু মাই চ্যানেল। আপনারা দেখছেন সাইবার টক ইউটিউব চ্যানেল। আজকে আমরা কথা বলবো লাইবিলিটি কার ইন্স্যুরেন্স নিয়ে, বাই অ্যামি ফন্টলাই, রিভিউড বাই চার্লিন, আপডেটেড August 31, 2021. What is liability car insurance? Liability car insurance is the part of a car insurance policy that provides financial protection for a driver who harms someone else or their property while operating a vehicle. Car liability insurance only covers injuries or damage to third parties and their property, not to the driver or the driver's property, which may be specially covered by other part of their policy. The two components of liability car insurance are bodily injury liability and property damage liability. Every state except New Hampshire requires a driver to have some degree of liability coverage. তো লাইবিলিটি কার ইন্স্যুরেন্সটা ব্যাপারটা এমন যে লাইবিলিটি গাড়িতে আপনার যদি কার অ্যাক্সিডেন্ট হয়, আপনাকে কোনো প্রোটেকশন দেওয়া হবে না। অনেক সময় দেখা যায় যে আমরা গাড়ি অ্যাক্সিডেন্ট করছি, তো অন্য একটা গাড়ির যে ক্ষয়ক্ষতি হচ্ছে সেটা আমাদের জরিমানা দিতে হচ্ছে। এই জরিমানাটা বহন করবে ইন্স্যুরেন্স। আপনার গাড়ি ভেঙে মুচড়ে গেলেও আপনি কোনো কভারেজ পাবেন না। ভেরি ইন্টারেস্টিং। Understanding car liability insurance. Liability car insurance helps cover the cost of damage resulting from a car accident in many states. If a driver is found to be at fault in the accident, their insurance company will pay the property and the medical expense of other parties involved in the accident up to the limit set by the policy. In states with no fault auto insurance, however, the driver involved in an accident must first file a claim with their own insurance company regardless of who was at fault. In those states, drivers are typically required to purchase a personal injury protection (PIP) coverage, which cover their accident-related medical expense as well as those of their passengers. Liability car insurance consists of two types of coverage. Bodily injury. The bodily injury liability portion of a car insurance policy cover an at-fault driver, so they are not liable for the other emergency and ongoing medical expense, loss of income or funeral costs. It also helps cover the policyholder's legal fees when the accident results in a lawsuit. Property damage. Property damage liability helps cover the cost of repairing or replacing the vehicles of other drivers involved in the accident. It also covers the damage done to the form of property by the policyholder's vehicle, such as fencing, mailboxes, or buildings. So the liability car insurance coverage limit. The liability car insurance has dollar limit on each of its components, depending on the level of coverage you choose when you buy the policy. Those include liability limit for property damage. This limit is the maximum amount of coverage for damage done to property. Any cost that exceed the limit becomes the responsibility of the at-fault driver. Liability limit for bodily injury per person. The per person limit is the maximum amount that the injury insurance company will pay out for each individual who has been injured in an accident. The liability limit per accident is a financial cap for the total amount that the insurance company will pay for all of the individual involved in an accident. In other words, the policy will cover medical expense for those insurance and insurance in an accident by the fault driver, but only up to an predetermined total. The at-fault driver would be liable for any medical expense above that limit. Requirement for liability car insurance. Each state sets a minimum for how much liability coverage motorist must carry. For example, a state might require all drivers to have liability insurance that covers $25,000 for injuries to one person, $50,000 injuries to multiple people, $50,000 for death of one person, and $10,000 for property damage. Driver can typically buy more liability insurance than their state required minimal. And it's often smart to do since medical bills can be very expensive. If you have considerable assets to protect from possible lawsuit, you may also want to consider buying a umbrella insurance policy which can increase the liability coverage on both your auto and homeowner insurance policy to $1 million or more. That's it. Example of liability car insurance. Here is an example of how liability car insurance might work in the state without no fault insurance. Let's say the motorist had the following liability car coverage with their insurance company. Bodily injury company, injury liability limit person $50,000. Bodily injury limit per accident $150,000. The insurance get into accident involving multiple people and ruled a fault for damage. Person has medical cost total $30,000. Person B has medical cost total $40,000. Person C has a medical cost totaling $50,000. The at-fault driver's liability would be covered in the instance because each person who was involved in the accident had medical expense of under $60,000. Also, the total cost of everyone involved. Expect the at-fault driver was $120,000, which is less than the per accident bodily injury limit. It's important to note that some policies will not cover any expense beyond the per accident limit. Even the per person limit have not been exceeded. Using the example above, let's say each person had medical expense of $55,000. Also, those individual costs all fall within the per person limit. Of a result, the at-fault driver would be liable for the additional of $15,000. Liability versus full coverage automobile insurance. In addition to the liability coverage, your state required insurance coverage coverage known as collision and comprehensive insurance. A policy with all your liability, collision and comprehensive is sometimes referred to as providing full coverage. A full coverage policy will cost you more than a liability only policy, but it will also protect you against more financial risk. Unlike property damage liability insurance, which covers another person's car if you damage it, collision and comprehensive insurance covered your own car. Collision insurance helps pay to repair or replace your car if it's damaged in an accident involving another vehicle or an object, such as a large tree, limb, or hay. These two types of insurance are optional for vehicles that are owned free and clear. But if the vehicle is financed, the lender may require that you have them. The lender wants to protect the vehicle's value since it serves as collateral for the loan. Even if you are not required to have collision or comprehensive insurance, you may want to buy unless you could easily pay a major repair bill out of pocket. Because many of these provisions can vary from state to state, it's worth consulting a knowledge insurance agent or broker who is familiar with your state's rules. It's also helpful to compare car insurance rates to ensure that you are getting the best deal on coverage. So what is split limit? Split limit
Yeah, I'm about to fade away. Cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Gotta build up of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay. Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way. I can see the way you look at me, I'm such a disgrace. I never really asked to be brought into this place. You wanna love me? Well then baby I have a taste. All the highs and the lows, no you'll never be the same. I don't really wanna hurt you but I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side.
তো আপনারা চাইলে কিন্তু ইনভেস্টোপিডিয়ার এই ওয়েবসাইটটি আপনারা চাইলে ভিজিট করতে পারেন। এই লাইবিলিটি কার ইন্স্যুরেন্সের ব্যাপারে আরও ডিটেল জানতে পারবেন। আর চ্যানেলে যারা নতুন আছেন অবশ্যই চ্যানেলটি সাবস্ক্রাইব করে পাশে থাকা বেল আইকনটি ক্লিক করে দিতে পারেন পরবর্তী ভিডিওর নোটিফিকেশন পাওয়ার জন্য। এতক্ষণ বসে যারা ভিডিওটি দেখলেন সবাইকে অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ।